Tension continues to mount in Guyana after the delayed general elections results. Venezuelans are commemorating the 7th anniversary of the death of the leader of the Bolivarian Revolution, Commander Hugo Chavez. The Russian and Turkish presidents held talks in Moscow in a bid to secure the de-escalation of the conflict in the Syrian province of Idlib. Hi, from the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. I'm Cristina Escobar. Tension is mounting by the hour at Guyana's Elections Commission as the country awaits the results of Monday's general election. There have been angry exchanges outside the Commission offices in Georgetown on Thursday morning after the final verification of votes was halted overnight. Some electoral officials have been accused by the opposition and international observers of manipulating the results. Hundreds of supporters of both the ruling APNU and AFP coalition and the opposition People's Progressive Party have gathered outside the Elections Commission to await news of the results. The count in the crucial Region 4 finally concluded on Wednesday, but results have not yet been released, which has caused uncertainty surrounding the transparency of the electoral process. And earlier this Thursday, Guyanese opposition leader Barad Jagyo explained that his party had all the official election results and that they showed that the PPP has won.
The British ambassador, all the international observers being done. So they're not going to succeed. They're not going to succeed because once they do, the whole international Guyana will be sanctioned, all of them personally. We will seek personal sanctions against every single official who tried to tamper with the results of the election, including the bunch of thugs that came in here just now. This is a stealing of the election in the presence of the international community. So now the world is seeing this, the stealing of the elections, and the diplomats are right here now. And I'm sure they're in touch with their government. So we can look forward to sanctions, personal sanctions, everything. Freezing of accounts and penalties later.
What can be done in this stage now?
Well, the chair of GCOM is upstairs and she's meeting with her people, so we expect her to address the situation shortly.
Why is the verification process not moving forward?
Well, that is precisely, it's a plan. It's a plot by some staff in here. We see the coziness between Roxanne Myers and Mr. Lowenfield has disappeared, and Mr. Corbyn just now, all the whispers, they sent home the staff from the IT department. There's a cabal in here that's working with Congress, please, to slow down the verification. We could have completed the verification. All the observers are here waiting.
In Guyana, we're seeing the Elections Commission trying to steal the elections for the government. There was supposed to be a declaration process. For that process to be completed, the results are supposed to be announced and verified. We have been waiting for 4 days for this to happen. We were waiting for 4 days for this to happen. They keep postponing it every day. And then suddenly the RO came down this morning and said he's here to declare the results. So this is ridiculous. This is a very, very sad day, and we're in international eyes.
Do you think this is a coup? They are staging a coup?
It is an attempt of a coup. It is a total attempt.
And what's the next step for the people?
Well, we have to wait. We are waiting now to hear from the chair of GCOM, who's a retired justice, and to see what she would say, and then we'll see where we go from there.
And the observers are saying anything?
Yes, the observers are here. We haven't spoken to them as yet, but they're observing everything.
Thank you.
And Guyana's Foreign Minister Dr. Karen Cummins this Thursday threatened to take away the accreditation of international observers amid mounting chaos regarding the verification of Region 4 votes. Her statements sparked a strong rejection from the head of the Commonwealth Observer Mission, former Prime Minister of Barbados, Owen Arthur. Later on Thursday, the government apologized for any offense caused by Cummins' statements and reiterated that the administration welcomes the presence of international observers as well as their recommendations. And we continue in Brazil because at least 29 people have been killed due to floods and landslide in the Brazilian state of São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. Hundreds of volunteers have joined rescue workers in a desperate search through the rubble to try to find 25 people who are still missing in the cities of Guarujá, Santos and São Vicente. Rescue efforts have been hampered by fallen trees and landslides blocking several major roads. Flooding has also affected Rio de Janeiro, where more than 5,000 people have been displaced. The latest severe weather comes after more than 50 people were killed in heavy rains that devastated the state of Minas Gerais in January. In Bolivia, this Thursday saw the official presentation of candidates of the Movement Towards Socialism Party to the Plurinational Legislative Assembly, held in the Farmers Association of Cochabamba Department. Candidates for President and Vice President, Luis Arce and David Choquehuanca, attended the meeting. The event also offered an opportunity to fine-tune campaign strategies in the lead-up to the May 3rd elections. Deputies, councillors and party members participating in the event expressed their commitment to a successful election campaign. Student protests continue in Paraguay to demand the resignation of Education Minister Eduardo Peta. The National Federation of Secondary Students convened protests across the nation, denouncing the minister's mismanagement of the education system and the blocking of educational reforms. Likewise, students are also demanding budget restructuring that guarantees free public education, school meals, and greater funding for technical and vocational education programs.
You, your companions, your friends work after going to study. Why? To buy everything because you don't have enough to eat? You drop out of the education system because your parents don't work. You don't have enough to eat. And what do the authorities do? They laugh in our faces. Why? Because we keep quiet. There is no democracy. There is no democracy. There is repression in schools. There is bureaucracy.
Coming up, Venezuelans are marking the 7th anniversary of the death of Hugo Chavez. Don't go away. Welcome back. This March 5th marks the 7th anniversary of the death of the leader of the Bolivarian Revolution, Commander Hugo Chavez Frias. From the early morning this Thursday, Venezuelans have visited the historic 4F mountain barracks, where the remains of the eternal commander of the Bolivarian Revolution rest. President Nicolás Maduro has also reiterated his loyalty to the legacy of Commander Hugo Chavez, while pointing out that the path of the Venezuelan Revolution will always be guided by the ideas of Chavez. Tributes to the Venezuelan revolutionary also continue to pour in from across the world. Venezuela's Vice President of Communication, Jorge Rodriguez, revealed on Thursday details of an alleged assassination attempt against opposition leader Juan Guaidó during a visit to Lara State on February 29th. Rodriguez described the allegations as a setup by Guaidó himself in order to gain international attention. On Wednesday, the president of the National Constituent Assembly, Diosdado Cabello, informed that the alleged assassination attempt was staged by those who support the opposition lawmaker and executed by a man named Climaco Medina, a.k.a. El Caracas, who received $400 for his performance. Cabello also presented a video where Guaidó's communication manager, Eduardo Rodriguez, could be seen planning this staged attack.
It is perfectly clear that if anyone fired any shots during that demonstration, it was Juan Guaidó's gunman. It's perfectly clear that he's complaining about the shots fired. It is perfectly clear that they hired someone called Climaco Eric Medina to show him with the revolver and get the photo Ravel needed to once again deceive foreign media. If only they had a trace of respect for the truth.
People have started boarding trains and are beginning to travel back to Wuhan, this Chinese city at the center of the coronavirus outbreak. The city of 11 million people has been largely cut off from the outside world since January 23rd, when the Chinese government started an unprecedented lockdown of central Hubei province to contain the novel coronavirus. This Thursday, China reported 31 COVID-19 deaths, bringing the total death toll to over 3,000. Chinese health authorities have also reported that more than 52,000 people have recovered from the virus. Meanwhile, almost 300 million students worldwide face weeks at home after schools were closed in more than a dozen countries to contain the virus. This Thursday, COVID-19 cases had been reported in some 80 countries. And 15 new coronavirus deaths were reported in Iran on Thursday, raising the death toll there to 107, while more than 3,500 cases have been confirmed. Major cultural and sporting events have been suspended in Iran and working hours reduced across the country, which is one of the worst hit outside of China. Meanwhile, schools and universities have been closed until early April. Iranian authorities have begun manning checkpoints to limit travel between major cities in order to halt the spread of the virus. And the first confirmed case of the coronavirus has been identified in South Africa. The patient is a man who traveled to Italy with his wife in a group of 10 people and arrived back in South Africa on March 1st. The South African Health Minister, Zweli Msikiye, noted that the country's health system would be tested by the coronavirus and explained that citizens quarantined in China will be returning home in the next few days. The U.S. state of California declared an emergency following its first coronavirus fatality, raising the U.S. death toll to 11. Meanwhile, a cruise ship was kept offshore after passengers and crew members developed symptoms. The U.S. Coast Guard rushed testing kits to the cruise ship quarantine off the coast of California on Thursday as the number of new coronavirus cases and deaths in the United States continued to rise. 11 passengers and 10 crew members on the ship were showing symptoms on Wednesday, according to California's Governor Gavin Newsom. Around 2,500 people are on the Grand Princess ship. One of the passengers died on Wednesday in Placer County, California, representing the first U.S. coronavirus death outside of Washington state. So far, 161 cases have been confirmed across the country. And we continue in the U.S., but we will change the topic. Elizabeth Warren has ended her Democratic presidential bid after a disappointing finish on Super Tuesday. The Massachusetts senator campaign was overshadowed by that of Bernie Sanders, although Warren managed to gain the support of some progressives that did not translate to enough support from the party's more working class and diverse grassroots, as seen in the Super Tuesday primaries. The Democratic contest to take on President Donald Trump is now a two-horse race between former Vice President Joe Biden and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. With votes still being counted, Democrats continue to wait for the full results of the Super Tuesday primaries. After this break, Russia and Turkey are seeking a solution to the conflict in Syria. Stay with us for more. Welcome back. Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan met in Moscow on Thursday to hold talks aimed at de-escalating tensions in Syria's Idlib province. Ahead of their meeting, Erdogan said he was hoping to agree a rapid ceasefire in Idlib, where more than 30 Turkish soldiers have been killed in recent days. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said the two leaders were set to discuss the causes and effects of the crisis and the joint measures they could agree to de-escalate the tensions. The conflict in Idlib has threatened to spark a direct conflict between Turkish and Russian forces, which both leaders are anxious to avoid.
The situation in Idlib has become so aggravated that it requires us to have a direct personal conversation. I want to once again express condolences over the death of your military servicemen in Syria. We need to talk about everything so that nothing like this happens again and it does not destroy Russian-Turkish relations, which I know you also value. The entire world has its eye fixed on us. The measures and appropriate decisions we will take here will calm the region and our two countries.
And our correspondent in Moscow, Lisandra Andres, has more details.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin has spoken about reaching a solution in the Syrian province of Idlib and preserving Russia's good relations with Turkey. He was speaking as he began talks with the Turkish leader Recep Tayyip Erdogan in the Kremlin. Putin expressed his condolences for the deaths of Turkish soldiers in Idlib, but he recalled that Syrian forces have also suffered a number of casualties in recent days. He said he hoped this meeting with President Erdogan could bring an end to the loss of life in Idlib. For his part, the Turkish president expressed his wish to maintain the good trade relations that the two countries enjoy, and said the entire world has its eyes on this important meeting and its outcome. After private talks between the two leaders, the delegations from the two countries are meeting to continue the negotiations. The Kremlin spokesperson said the Russian side hoped to agree a package of measures to put an end to the confrontation. The Kremlin also repeated its support for the territorial integrity of Syria and for its government's fight against terrorism, and it said it stood by the agreement reached with Turkey in Sochi, including Ankara's commitment to separate the terrorists from so-called moderate armed groups in Idlib.
Turkey's Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu announced the deployment of 1,000 police officers to prevent Greece pushing migrants back from its border. Soylu said the deployment of fully equipped special forces to the Merik River on the border with Greece is intended to ensure migrants and refugees can continue to cross into Greece. Meanwhile, Greek authorities fired tear gas and stun grenades on Wednesday morning to disperse migrants attempting to cross its land border from Turkey. Greece has raised its security presence at the border after the Turkish government announced its borders with Europe were open to whoever wants to cross. A series of Israeli airstrikes targeted 4 Hezbollah-linked sites in central and southern Syria early on Thursday. According to the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, the Israeli attack targeted 2 military airports near the city of Homs, as well as 2 locations in the area of Kineitra, across from the Israeli-occupied portion of the Golan Heights, but failed to hit their mark. The observatory has not documented any human or material losses. Israeli forces demolished the homes of 2 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. Walid Hanasher and Yassan Muhagen are currently in custody and facing trials over allegations of carrying out an attack in the West Bank last year, which killed an Israeli citizen and injured another. Witnesses told local media that armed Israeli vehicles stormed into the town of Birzeit on Thursday and cordoned off the area surrounding Mughami's house before tearing it down. During the demolition, dozens of Palestinians confronted armed Israeli soldiers who responded by firing tear gas and stun grenades. At least 132 people have died due to Lassa fever so far this year in Nigeria, according to the National Center for Disease Control. Nigerian health authorities confirmed that 775 people have so far contracted Lassa fever, which has a case fatality ratio of 17%. The report from the Disease Control Center revealed that the number of suspected cases has significantly increased compared to that reported from the same period in 2019. Nigerian Minister of Environment Muhammad Abubakar has urged Nigerians to protect their homes from rats and other rodents which commonly spread the virus. And we conclude in the Democratic Republic of El Congo, where the last patient treated for Ebola has been discharged from hospital, according to the World Health Organization. The patient was discharged from a hospital in the eastern city of Beni, where joyous scenes of celebrations by medical staff were seen. Now seems closer than ever to an end. This is the first time there have been no active cases since the outbreak that was declared in August 2018, bringing hopes that it is nearing its end. The virus has killed over 2,200 people, making it the second worst Ebola outbreak in history. The DRC has now gone 14 days without any confirmed cases. An outbreak can be declared as over once 42 days have passed without a single new case. And we've come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And please join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Cristina Escobar. Thank you for watching.